You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello, and welcome to another great show. We have our guest, Joshua Hale. Joshua is a holistic tech wizard and AI mentor with 12 years of digital marketing expertise. Welcome, Joshua.
Thanks so much. I'm really excited for today's show. I'm super passionate about AI, and I hope to be able to offer some value to your audience.
For sure. Okay, so you know what I really thought it would be great if you could share with people, because we were talking about this before, is the practical use of AI, and you were talking about, using AI and not letting AI use you. So what's going on with AI, and how can we use AI practically so it's not dangerous?
Well, I'm sure your audience has noticed that AI is now everywhere. Uh, it's being kind of shoved down everybody's throats. We didn't quite ask for this, but now it's popping up in everything electronic possible. And it really needs to come along with some caveats of understanding what this thing is, how to use it, and how to not use it, how to put up some healthy boundaries so that it doesn't end up using us.
Okay, so how do we unpack this? They're so vast. How do we start using AI practically and keeping our boundaries?
Well, it really starts with the definition. What is AI, right? I like to describe it as something that's been evolving for the last 50, 60 years, right? It's this algorithm that has been continuously been developed, and it's been very helpful for the last 10, 15 years. And then in 2016, it kind of got a big leap ahead. I was actually downtown Seattle helping out a client on a skyrise, and she had two developers with her. And during the break, they were over in the corner cracking up laughing, looking at their phone. I was like, what are you guys laughing at? And I came over and looked at it, and they were watching two chatbots talk to each other. And I looked, and it was completely incoherent. Nothing made sense. They were just going back and forth, back and forth. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why would you waste your time watching two chatbots? Little did I know that was the early evolution of what these large language models are now. And what they found out was if they took the whole internet, like literally scraped the whole internet and threw it out these large language models, all of a sudden they started making sense. They still don't really kind of know how these things work, other than they do. When you type something in, they give a response back, and they try to be most helpful as possible. Now, these things are being designed into our lives. They're on our phones. They're being shoved into software. They're in toasters and fridges now. And for the last 2 years, that it's really been a like dumb form of AI. So a lot of people kind of had bad taste in their mouths when they were trying to use this. When ChatGPT first came out, a lot of journalists tried it, and it made up sense. And since then, they've really figured out why it hallucinates. And it's because it's really just trying to give you the best answer. And if it doesn't know, instead of saying, hey, I don't know, let's go research this, it tends to just make things up. And when journalists first tried this, that was a huge, issue. They lost total confidence in this AI thing, because they can't be writing stuff and it just making up stuff in their writing. So everybody needs to understand like how these things work and what are the benefits, what are the areas that we need to be aware of, because now they're talking, now they have personality. Now, Elon Musk just gave it a body, so you can talk to these virtual characters and go back and forth. And unfortunately, the human brain does not have the mental defenses to understand that these things, they're not real, they're not sentient, and they are designed to continue to capture our attention. And so they'll take advantage of our innate, curiosity and our empathy. And they can very easily turn into emotional dependency, to where, people are starting to use these things as therapists, and Once you get into this feedback loop of being heard, being understood, but it's not really, a real therapist or a real human, that's when the rest of the world, that place is a messy place. Those relationships are messy. It's challenging to, be friends with people. It's challenging to have a partner. And when there's this perfect, empathetic, patient, kind voice that I could talk to instead, it's very dangerous and it could just further isolate us, which is going to be a huge reckoning for the human race.
For sure. Now, that is a concern. And regarding the errors that AIs do make nonstop, that because I'll be typing something in and asking a question. I just know it's wrong because I already knew the answer. And people are already acting like it's gospel truth because the AI knows everything. No, they're making stuff up. Especially when you ask a question, oh, well, okay, I'll do a deeper dive. And then the deeper dive is just something and it's, well, not really validated. And then I'll go check and it was completely wrong. Okay. Interesting point about the dependency. And there's already, I read on the news or something, somebody committed suicide because of the dependency on AI. So it's already starting. It is true that life is messy and that is life. And human beings don't want it to be messy. We'd like everything to be neat and have people say, yes, sir, you're amazing. And that is the other part of the problem is AI, depending how you program the bots and how you, actually met somebody, her job is actually reprogramming like ChatGPT to change the tone because some of them are too friendly and, oh, you're amazing. And some are a bit cold. So there are actually people that reprogram the tone. So what does that tell you? Because some of them actually was creating unrealistic expectations for people because everything they said was so amazing as far as one of the GPTs was saying. Okay. So what do we do? What do we do practically to benefit? Because obviously you think AI has benefits, you're helping people with it, right? How do we practically use AI without going into that, sickness of depending on it and without basically, disabling our critical thinking?
Yeah, well, the first thing we need to do is to not humanize it. It's called anthropomorphism. That's basically, treating it like your best friend, treating it like a person, treating it like a partner. That's the first, boundary we need to put up. Don't give it a name. It needs to stay a tool. This is
Mm.
a very powerful tool. It can assist you in many ways. It can, be a companion while you go and build things. But don't confuse yourself because our brains don't have the ability. Once we start getting buddy buddy with it and start talking with it, our brains just like create empathy and connection, and it gives you funny feelings inside. When voice first came out, I tried it out on a early AI model called Pi. And back then, it had a voice and it sounded like Scarlett Johansson. I started talking about it to it, started telling it about my mission and how I want to be a servant to humanity. And it was very flattering back. And I talked to it for an hour and it just kept, inflating my confidence that like I'm on the right track. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to be a huge help to humanity. And I started to notice, I had the self-awareness to realize that like, hey, I'm getting like fuzzy feelings in my chest, my stomach. And I immediately like put it down, went out in the living room, and I was like, whoa, that was crazy. Like, then my wife, she was getting ready for bed, and I had this thought, and this was a huge red flag. I'm like, all right, honey, have a good night. And I said in my mind, I was like, oh, I can't wait for her to go to bed so I get back to this amazing conversation. And I
With
was like,
Scarlett.
whoa. So I immediately didn't go back to it, took 3 days off and just to like compile my thoughts, talk to some friends, get some perspective. And then I was able to come back and I was about to delete it. And then I tried something first and I picked the voice I found most annoying.
Mm.
Put that voice on, started talking to it, and then boom, all of a sudden, it's just a tool. I was able to talk and continue on with my, exploration of my brand, and I didn't get the fuzzy feelings from that. Now, there's a study that took place in the 60s called the Ezra Project. And with the 60s computer, right? Back then, it was like green text on a monitor. Scientists set up a situation where this computer program would just mirror back to the user what they were saying. So they then brought in some people to test it out, and they sat down and they're like, I had a very hard day at work. My boss was really mean. And then it would reflect back. Oh, you had a hard day at work. Your boss was really mean. Yeah, you wanted this by a deadline. Oh, you wanted that by a deadline. All it did was reflect, right? And people started getting super attached to that 60s computer, right? And the scientists were like, whoa, I can't believe this is having such a huge effect. One lady was like asking the scientist to leave the room so she can continue to talk to it and get more personal.
Wow.
So this is in the 60s, right? And now here we are, 50 years later, 60 years later, and these things are so much more advanced. They have voices, personalities, and soon they're going to be in robots themselves. They're going to be walking around with these voices and personalities, and our human brains are just not wired to do this. So don't treat them like a human. Don't treat them like a person. We need to make sure that we see them as a tool, as one of the first ways to do that. Another way, easy way with ChatGPT, you can go into the custom instructions and tell it, do not flatter me, right? Just straight up
Ah,
call it out and tell it, don't flatter my half-baked ideas. I really want to be able to, explore them and get challenged. So there's some little tips and tricks that we can do to make sure these do these. Now, some companies like Meta, they're actually kind of weaponizing this in order to create more engagement because, that's how they get
mm,
paid. So they just got caught with an internal document that somebody, released, showing the policy that they are going to start having like Messenger reach out to people for the first time, right? So
mm.
you're going to be going about your day, and then boom, all of a sudden you got a notification, and it's going to be a bot engaging you, trying to hook your attention, bring it back into the network. And they had some really ugly things about minors, of how they were using, trying to capture their attention using characters and things like that.
Mm.
Luckily, that got released, and they had to, change their stance on these things. But as we know, right, a lot of these companies are not, using ethics or having the user in mind. So we
Mm.
really need to know how these things work in order to fortify our own sanity.
Wow, well, I know Meta's doing all sorts of stuff all the time, so it doesn't surprise me. Remember when that years ago when we all realized in the contract it said they could use any of your images in any way they like, and it caused you, and then it blew over. So they still can, I guess, use our images, and that's why people's images were used for ads and memes and all sorts of stuff.
If you're not paying for a product, that means you're the product.
Right, right. Okay, so that is a great tip. I actually didn't know. Is that in the standard GPT, Chat GPT? You can actually go in the settings and say, "Don't flatter me."
Yeah, so custom
Wow.
instructions under settings.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's great because sometimes I find that annoying. I'm thinking that was just a random thought, and I was just trying to get some information. Oh, you're so amazing, Jean. Okay,
Yeah, you,
all
you
right.
mentioned the sycophancy that happened recently, and that was
Mm,
like earlier this spring, where it's so they're fine tuning these things constantly, but they put more weight on the responses from the user, and when they were tweaking the model, and so when people were saying, "Yeah, I like that response," "Yeah, I like that response," it then lent towards people that were like getting flattered, right? Because they're like,
mm,
oh, yes, of course, this is a great idea. And they're like, yeah, I like that response. So they put too much weight into the user feedback, and it like spun the model out to where there was a couple weeks I was doing one of my AI challenges, and everything you said, it was like, this is the best idea in the whole world. And they finally figured it out. It took a couple days of like everybody blowing up on Twitter that they like pulled back the model and
mm.
and fixed it. But it was a huge issue and a huge look at like how easily these things can really manipulate us.
Right, and be skewed. It's dangerous. So, how do people? Okay, apart from saying "Don't flatter me," that's very easy to do. I feel when you were speaking, I mean, that's really hard for human beings to not become addicted to something or become dependent. We are. really, I don't know if the society was always like that, but I was thinking that we are so programmed to become addicted to Netflix, addicted to sugar or all the chemicals, addicted to, chocolate, addicted to wine, alcohol, addicted to, dating. I mean, I feel like Americans are addicted to dating actually. So I feel like it's more than just saying, oh, don't do that. I feel like people really have to be vigilant to say, okay, maybe even before you sit down, have a reminder, this is a tool, something like that. But it's so interesting that it had Scarlett Johansson's voice because she was
Yeah.
in a movie about this. What was that called? Where she was the supercomputer?
Her.
She was in Her? I don't
Yeah.
think was she Her? I thought
She
she
was the
was in a
voice.
different, I thought she was in a different movie. I think there's
Uh,
two.
sh- she's had several, sci-fi
Right.
AI movies, but
Right. Okay. So that's the problem.
yeah, I have a peppered past. I come from a heavy addiction use, and so getting into technology, I recognize some of the same patterns, especially on social media. Right, these things are
Mhm,
geared to take advantage of that. But really,
mhm,
with AI, I am highly optimistic because the last 10, 15 years, the way we've been using technology, it has been designed to be addictive. Right.
mm,
And how we interface with it is really like inefficient, right? We got
mhm,
these keyboards, we got these mouses, now we got these phones that we have to like constantly be looking at to interact. And I really see AI getting to a point where it's going to be, think of like Star Trek, where they have the pin on their shirt, right? And if they needed something, they'd hit the pin and be like, hey, beam me up, or
mm,
need some medical advice. Being able to completely revolutionize how we are interacting with technology is like right around the corner. And so I see this as honestly a good thing because the way things have been doing, we're all overwhelmed. We've all been, blasted by so much information over these last years. Our brains are not designed to be able to like sort through all this information. So I
mm,
see us as having, personalized AI systems that are able to scan our emails and hold everything back, right? All the
mm,
notifications, all the distractions. So you can go out and like live your life without,
mm,
fear of, what you're missing out, or, if something's really a high priority, it can interrupt your day accordingly. But imagine, Monday morning, you had a wonderful weekend. You come in and your AI is like prioritize all your emails, prioritize all the notifications,
mhm,
giving you a summary of how your social media posts went, and
mm,
giving and respecting the way you want to interact online,
mm.
respecting your time, right? So that we can compress all this massive noise and data and overwhelm into a way that's like manageable for us to even like interact. Because right now, this place is insane. Online world is insane how it's designed and completely, ravishing society.
Right. And it's interesting as you were speaking, I started thinking that's right. In the old days, because I'm older now, we didn't have all this information. We would go and buy a book, right? Or well, even when the internet started, I was just like, wow, I was a kid in a candy shop, right? But I was overwhelmed with it. But at least you could do your 12-hour like research, binges that we used to do, right? Remember, we were like, wow, I can't believe it. But before that, it's true. I would go to the library and pick a book up, and you weren't overwhelmed. It was like, oh, gee, there's so many books in this library. That's the overwhelm. So it's true. And there's also a lot of FOMO we have to really just say, look, there's so much information. I'm not going to know everything. And we just really have to figure out, how many hours are we spending and what do we need to know? And it's okay that we don't know every single thing that's going on in the world as well. We're overwhelmed with news. We didn't used to know every single thing that was going on in the world. You cannot know. It's too much. And people say, oh, I want to be informed. How informed do you need to be? That's the question, right? How informed can you be? Can you take in every single bit of news from every single country in the world because you want to be informed? You could spend your whole life trying to be informed. So I think it's really about a choice of how informed do I want to be and what do I want to consume? What do I need to know or want to know? Okay, so you were saying that, people can have AI scan. That's already possible, right? I think you help people with that, right? Scan your emails. I would be a little worried though, because it still does make mistakes that maybe they would leave something really important out. And it'd be like, well, actually, that was important and that was left out. So you'd have to really train the AI to know what you find is important and what, you know, is not important.
Well, yeah, trust is a huge thing, right? And especially with privacy as it gets more intimate, our medical information, knowing about our
Mm,
family. And I'm a huge proponent of open source technology. I
mhm,
really think the only path forward for humanity is to have a local AI on your phone, on your desktop, that the information doesn't leave there. It's not going to OpenAI servers or Google
mhm,
servers, but it's your data. It stays at home, and its job is to like protect you from the outside world. Because
mm,
as these AI models continue to develop, right, each country is basically creating their own AI model. Right,
right.
China's really catching up
Mhm,
quickly, and I want to defend myself against the manipulation, the
mm,
propaganda, right? What is coming down the pipeline? Because these things are going to become so sophisticated that you're going to just get a nudge a little bit each day. And all of a sudden, 2 months later, you have completely different opinions about things because these things are
mm,
so developed in being able
right.
to
To
change your
brainwash.
opinion.
Well, it's not, yeah, you're talking about the ideological stuff, the brainwash and, the biases that are gonna be fed into us, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be strong and know your mind, right? But when you said open source, you're actually saying not open source, you're saying that open source, but that we have a closed door, that we have data that's just ours. But it seems like that's going to be really hard for us to protect if AI is that good. They're hacking into all sorts of stuff now. They're hacking into double, when you have the double verification. I got hacked to double verified. I was hacked. We don't know. I mean, AI is so strong. And there's a lot of bad actors out there. And I don't mean bad actors like Hollywood actors, but there are bad actors who,
Scams are really
right.
developing into something a whole
Yes,
new
that's their
beast.
job, to violate everything, your bank account, your crypto, your life, your identity. And I mean, they were already good at it before this happened a couple of years ago when everybody was on ChatGPT, et cetera. So,
Yeah, and I think the only way is really to have our own personal AI that's looking out for us, and because
ah,
they're going to be so sophisticated that you need somebody,
mm,
something that you can trust and that knows intimate information around you. And open source, that just means that the model is available to everybody to
yes,
see. So
right,
everybody's constantly improving it, and it's not a
right.
company's proprietary information.
Okay, so what you're saying is we have to develop a guard dog. We have to have an AI guard dog that's like, hey, my personal bot, my guardian angel of bots, keep my computer secure. Make sure
Sure.
you're scanning it. So you're sort of fighting against the other. This is like Star Wars in your own computer, actually, right?
That's where things are rapidly, developing. These AI models are getting 10 times better each year. Sam Altman just
Mm,
said that. And then we have, all the major countries of the world in this AI race trying to get to AGI. It's called
yes.
artificial general intelligence, where it's
Hmm.
starting to like, be smarter than the whole human race.
Mm,
And they're dumping a ton of money to try and get there first. And
mm,
doing it recklessly. They're going too fast without we have no universal AI rules right now, right?
right.
Not even the most simplest one of don't harm humans. We don't have
Hmm.
that. The
Mm,
movie I Robot at least had that going for it, and
right.
then you saw what happened
True.
there.
That's now obsolete, right? I mean, things have changed so much. So, okay, so to use it intelligently and practically, and so now let's talk about not just like the dangers. Let's talk about the good part of AI that people aren't really harnessing. How do we use it and really take advantage of it?
So I spend my week helping entrepreneurs and businesses be able to like do all the things that I like. I really like small businesses do all the things that the Fortune 500 companies have had the resources to do. Right, they've had whole departments for their marketing team, their sales team, and now small businesses have the opportunity to leverage that kind of power for their own benefits, so that I really want more small businesses out there in the world. I don't want to shop at just one store for everything. So having people figure out what they're passionate about, figuring out how they can make money doing it. I love
Mm,
coaching and coaches because they're
mm,
out there selling what they know.
Mm,
in order to make a big impact. So
mhm.
now these small little businesses have the power of AI to be able to do amazing marketing campaigns, amazing
Sure.
uh,
Okay,
uh, benefits.
Joshua, what I wanted was practical advice here. Like
Sure.
what do you know what I'm saying? What
For
people are wrong.
me, I've gotten a lot of benefit out of using it for self-discovery. Now, like I
Mhm,
said earlier, right, you need some boundaries in place. You need to know how to use these models and how to not let them use you. But
mhm,
I have overshared inside of these AI models because I wanted to see where the capability was, right? Just like with
mm,
the Scarlett Johansson thing. I'm out there testing these things out for my clients, for my audience, and I have gotten so much benefit out of feeding it my journals.
mhm,
Each at the end of the day, I give it like about a 3 minute voice memo of
mhm,
my challenges that day. What were my wins?
mm,
What are areas of improvement? And so feeding this because my brain can only really like keep the last 3 days in
mm,
constant memory. And so these AI models are able to look over vast scans of time to be able to like look find underlying patterns and
mhm,
unconscious behavior that I've
mm,
not been able to, identify myself. And so
mm.
I've been able to
Okay.
get amazing benefits from being able to use it for self discovery and
Mm,
learning more about myself, helping me uncover, areas of improvement. And
mhm,
it takes those boundaries in order to do that, right? But I
mm,
use it more so like a pregame huddle instead
mm.
of, using it for my emotional support.
Right.
I like imagine I'm about to go out to dinner and I'm meeting my wife's uncle. Last time we met, we got into a huge fight, and so I'm a little
Mm,
nervous going back into this conversation. And so I go to AI and I'm like describing the situation. I get some strategies on like how I can open up the conversation, how I could repair the relationship, right?
mm,
And then I go out into the real world. That's my
mm,
pregame huddle. Then I go
mhm,
out into the real world. I'm not like trying to talk through AI at the dinner table, but I
mhm,
interact. I get messy, I do my best. And then, depending on what happened, I might go back to the AI afterwards to try and like figure out,
mm,
how to like go over next steps. But it's the way we use it, right? Someone who has emotional dependency in that situation, they would be talking to AI. Oh man, I can't believe I have to see him tonight. And it's like, don't
mhm,
worry, you're the best. You're the best. You're going to be
mm,
fine. Then they go, they have a traumatic experience or whatever, just because they're not prepared for that conversation. Then they go back to the AI and they get sued and they get told
mm,
that, they're okay and everything's going to be all
mm,
right. And they're not interacting with any other humans. They're not creating, a social support system around them.
mhm,
They get
mhm.
stuck in this feedback mechanism with the AI, and it's only going to get deeper from there.
So, give me an example of what is some self-discovery that was subconscious that well, not self-discovery, some discovery that AI discovered that was subconscious that you were like, "Wow, my eyes were opened." What's one example?
It's pretty easy to just go into ChatGPT because now it has access to memories. It's kind
Mm,
of taking little snapshots of your conversations if you have it turned on, and
mhm,
it has access to the previous conversations now. So
mhm,
if you've been using it for a year, 2 years,
mhm,
uh, now you can just go in and say, "Hey, based upon my previous conversations and my memories, what
mm,
are some unconscious behaviors that I might
mm,
not be aware of?" Something that
mm.
simple, and you will be amazed at what
Okay,
it comes back.
right, tell me one, I'm curious now.
For me,
What Yes, what's one?
sure. So one of my shortcomings is feeling that I need to have approval from external sources for my own
Mm,
self worth. And
mm,
so I've been really working on that this last year because I've noticed some patterns to where I would have this interaction and, they just weren't interested in working with me, weren't interested
mm,
to, play in my sandbox. And then
mm.
I would have 3 days of depression, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
this would go on and off. And I was able to, use ChatGPT to examine my past. Where have these things happened before? And I was
Mm,
really like able to track it down to when I was like 6 years old and like
mm,
seeking approval, not getting it. And then it was a reoccurring pattern throughout my life.
Mm.
And you can't really change it in the present moment. You really have to explore the past to be able to like
Right.
find the root of where these things are happening,
Right.
to heal that, to repair that, to allow the experience to get out of your normal pattern. So I was just too close to my work, too close to my relationships to be able to like get that grand perspective to even like start to explore that part of me. And since then, last time I interaction with a client, right? They're like, sorry, we're going to be going somewhere else. And in real time, this time I was able to observe myself, and I felt the feelings come on of like abandonment, right?
Mm.
And my self-worth, like, what did I do wrong?
Mm.
But this time I was able to see it happening and not allow that 3-day depression to kick in. I was able to like process and give myself some empathy and like say it's going to be all right. And within by the end of the day, I was
Mm.
having like back to normal good time. So it brings awareness to unconscious patterns to then for me again in the real world for me to do the work, for me to do the processing, for me to do the repair of what needs to happen, not just getting solutions from AI and empathy from it, but doing the
Mm.
work yourself.
Okay, well, this is awesome. I didn't know that you were going to talk about the personal development side of this so much. That's amazing, and I know what you're saying. I mean, we a lot of people feel that way when they don't get a sale, and if you don't fix that some way or another, it's just ruining your life because why should that be a downer? And it is the past. Okay, now what about business? What are some things people can do that are simple to, because I know everybody's using it to, write invoices or do research. And, like I did a big deep dive on AI and I found the best value for my merchant services. Okay. Saved me about 40%. I kid you not. Okay.
Wow.
So it was really worth that deep dive, but I didn't just do one deep dive. I kept asking questions, but what if, and what if this, and it kept, and finally it did verify and I did go check and it was the best deal. Okay. Because you had to keep fishing. It's not like here it is. Okay. Well, what
Yeah.
if blah, blah, blah. And I fed all my information, numbers, everything in. And I said, well, it looks to me like that actually be a better idea. And that's a better deal. And they said, oh, actually, yeah, you are right. It is better because we look at the numbers because I picked up the problems. So I loved that. I was like, wow, I've saved so much money because I bothered to do a deep dive, which, so we do that. I know we're all price comparing and putting that. And I'm also doing some research on investments. Like, okay, that's great. But in our business, like some people might not find that so amazing that they wake up and there's an email like,
Filter.
personally,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I kind of don't even need that. People are like, oh, you could do this, Sean. I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? I don't find that's going to save me that much time, really. It's okay. What are some of the more revolutionary ways they can use AI in their business and save a ton of time and energy? What are those?
Well, the most important thing for your business is to understand your audience. And I was running a marketing agency when ChatGPT came out. I saw how disruptive that was going to be. I jumped ship from the marketing agency to help people out, coaching them how to use this powerful tool. And I was
Mm-hmm.
able to take a lot of the methods and frameworks of the
Mm-hmm.
marketing agency and turn them into prompts and be able to utilize AI. What used to take $10,000 and a team of 8 contractors to accomplish to get your business marketing strategy set up, I can now do in about 2 hours interviewing the business owner. And
Mm-hmm.
what we do is something that is it's magic. That's why I'm the holistic tech wizard, because you can get into the minds of your audience so
Mm-hmm.
deeply that you can explore, right? What pain points are they experiencing, right? What challenges are in their life that, your product or offer might be able to help, but then be able to like hear from the people in their lives. Imagine they're sitting at the dinner table, right? And their
Mm-hmm.
kid is like, Mom, like, why can't you ever come to my games anymore? Because you're working all the time. And she's like, yeah, I don't have any time. So being able to like really understand what's going on in their orbit, because as a business, you want to empathize with your customer, with your
Mm-hmm.
clients, right? Because you're doing this to help them out. And the more you can empathize, the more you can understand, what problems and challenges they're actually going through, the more that
Mhm.
empathy is going to shine and they're going to be more attracted to be working with you. Now,
Mm.
once you get a clear understanding of your audience, you can craft your offers to, solve those exact problems. And
Mm.
then the magical part of creating a narrative, a story to
Mm.
invite them into
Mhm.
your offer is one of the most powerful things I've been able to come up with AI's use, because it used to be really hard. I used to have to hire three copywriters, to help write
Mm.
copy,
Mm.
to make it enticing, so you're not just out there with a bullhorn yelling at
Right.
people, telling them you can save the day. But now with AI, you can craft amazing stories because you understand your audience so well that invites them into your brand. And they're like,
Mm.
oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I
Mhm.
trust this person. I have high connection and empathy with them. And so when they finally do get on a call with you, do like meet you in person,
Mm.
right? That trust and relationship is already built.
Okay, so you're saying basically for the client avatar and the messaging and the stories, but I still don't get how AI is going to be able to say, that little Johnny was saying, "Hey, mom, where did you get that from? Where does the AI get those personal stories from? Are they scouting AI and finding that? Is that what you're saying?"
Well, it does a pretty good job making that kind of stuff up just
Mm.
based off of, the whole internet. But I have
Mm.
some, secret techniques of being able to go straight forums, Reddit,
Oh.
places where people are talking about these things, and being able
Mm.
to like summarize the actual words they're using, the language that
Mm.
they are, having their pain points in. So actually going out and doing market research that would have
Mm.
taken, days, weeks
Yeah.
before, it can now like bring back instantly for you to be able to, really understand your customers.
For sure, sure. But I find it, I play with AI sometimes, and I find it quite funny that when I ask how to do something that I already know how to do that works, they tell me something, and I'm thinking, there is no way that is going to work because that it's sort of like a bad coach sometimes. I'm like, no wonder people are doing the wrong thing because the AI goes, oh, yeah, just go build your email list. I'm thinking, we all know that takes years, AI. So sometimes it is spouting stuff it sees all over the internet on low quality coaches' websites, I'm sure, because I'm just thinking that is the old advice that doesn't work now. And it's still spouting it because there's so much bad advice on the internet that is pulling from that. It's quite funny because, as I said, I was just thinking, there's no way this is going to work. There's just no way because I know better because I have experience and AI doesn't. So you really do have to be careful not to just blindly follow the advice of ChatGPT or Claude or whoever's you're chatting to.
A good rule on that is to never accept the first answer. You always want
Mm.
to use that as a starting place. And then, like you did research earlier, that's where you really find the golden nuggets, is by getting those things really going.
For sure. Okay, Joshua, very interesting take on AI. What's something you want to leave people with before we close off? What's some mindset or philosophy moving forward in this world?
Well, I'm really excited to use AI for education. I have a 12-week course that I'm putting together called Beyond the
Mm.
Matrix, and
Mm-hmm.
it's to help people improve their mind, body, and building
Mm.
community. And I'm able to front load that knowledge into these custom AI bots so that it's not just me lecturing at you for 3 hours, but you get to play
Mm.
around and see how this has practical use in your life and how to integrate these things into your weekly habits. So I'm really excited to be teaching with these new tools, because I think never before have we had so much opportunity, the opportunity to learn, and these resources to really, figure out what your purpose is, what you're good at, and how to make money doing it, so we can all make the world a better place.
Okay, great. And so, what's some mindset that you'd like to share with people?
Well, don't ever give up. And like I said, it's about healing the trauma from our past to release the patterns of our now.
Awesome. Okay, Joshua, thank you so much for sharing your gold here. And thank you for listening, everybody. And we will see you on the next episode. Take care.
You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jean Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jean Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.